I did my poster over social injustices that African Americans face while pursuing higher education. This meant to me narrowing it down to specific locations such as careers, higher education, and simply just walking around on campus. This topic kind of hit home with me being a college student, and also because we've had recent events at the University of Oklahoma that kind of go along with what I wrote about and what I am presenting on my poster. Um, there's many organizations on campus trying to fight this kind of thing. I interviewed the Gender and Equality Center that we have at the University of Oklahoma, and they basically summed up, we're like, we offer all these services, we like to help, we advocate, all these things. I listed my interview on this poster. You can zoom in further to see the responses. They actually gave me so many good responses. I was very happy about that. When it comes to applying to college, people are asked to fill out all their information, including the race. At this point, it can either go bad or well, depending on the institution, looking over them. One source I used said, we see major universities who never can find black male students, administrators, and faculty who merit admission or higher, but always manage to find black males for major football and basketball programs. And I don't know how true this is to the University of Oklahoma specifically, but it does kind of seem surreal that African Americans are favored in sports programs when it comes to something that's making the university so much money, but when it comes to general enrollment, they just somehow all of a sudden aren't good enough to be enrolled. Um, Also, another source said, in this ethnographic qualitative study, the authors found that lacking of mentoring, lack of knowledge about the rules of tenure, institutional lack of respect for innovative research topics, and institutional underappreciation of service increased respondents' doubts about their ability to attain tenure. And that's speaking on African American faculty, because they also are struggling in higher education as well. Um, Once they find themselves in higher education, if they do, they find they're obviously still not receiving the same opportunities. Um, if they find themselves, they face discrimination within and outside, but they do have support from organizations, like I said, the Gender and Equality Center. Um, but that doesn't always help because you still have people walking around in blackface or professors using racial slurs, like we saw at the University of Oklahoma. Um, it's hard to be normal in a surrounding like that. It's not a normal thing to be surrounded by constant racial attacks because that doesn't happen if you are white. You're never being harassed or just not in the same way. Um, Another thing said, familiar understandings of African American organizations were centered around their focus on racial uplift, activism, and social bonds. And that's Leyburn and Parks, 2016. We could improve more experiences for African Americans by educating students and faculty about diversity and inclusion. We have this kind of thing at OU, but I think they just now are creating something for faculty, which is honestly alarming. Um, Another quote said, living in and through the vision of Du Bois and others can be an empowering force that guides teacher educators as they prepare teachers who are culturally responsive. That's Webb, Johnson, and Rocon, page 1. As African Americans navigate through their lives at college, it is essential to have social justice groups and organizations that can help them and support them whenever they need it, because obviously it's needed. Um, Overall, I felt this topic was very interesting. I think it was interesting because I am a college student and we don't really think that in depth about how other students may be struggling. We're usually just worried about ourselves. So this was interesting and opened my eyes to what else could be going on around me. I've obviously seen the recent racial attacks on campus, but it just you just don't see this much in depth about it. So I was excited to do this poster and this presentation because I was given the opportunity to study just a little bit more about what they go through on the daily if they are in higher education. Another quote said, "Nonetheless, the black graduates were employed less often in the trades for which they had been educated, had lower wages and fewer promotions, and experienced longer periods of unemployment." And this is if African Americans graduate college, or this could be faculty in higher education. It's essential for African Americans to have resources that can help them grow and protect them from injustices happening on campus. One of those being the Gender and Equality Center. So thank you for listening. This project really opened my eyes. I hope this also opened your eyes, and the graphics on my poster kind of help explain better just how exactly they're facing injustices every day.